let's get into what this is all about. Why are we doing the Hashy Hour? And what are we doing here at the Proof of Workshop? So, the first Hashy Hour. I'm really excited to get this thing rolling. It's something that I've been wanting to do for some time, is create a free community where Bitcoin miners can share their experience with people of all different experience levels. If you've never had a miner online, and even if you're running a massive operation, there's some people in this group already that have experience running big operations, real Bitcoin mining operations. Myself, I'm learning every day. So the reason for this community is for me to share what I'm learning and also to learn from the community, right? So I'm not just sitting on a soapbox. I'm actually sitting in a nice, comfortable chair and about to make a little drink on my ASIC. This ASIC, I just got this in the mail and I just opened this out of the box today. So this is one of my Bitcoin miners that I had shipped over, which is always a good time when you're. So what I'm gonna do is make a little gin and tonic and just kind of casually riff and speak with you guys about the proof of workshop and about Bitcoin mining and the opportunities that I'm seeing and why you should care, right? Because your time is precious. Some people say that Bitcoin is the most precious asset, but that's not true. Your time is the most precious asset, and Bitcoin is a measurement. It's a measurement of your time and your energy. And so, most people don't realize that they're getting robbed every day, right? They're getting robbed by inflation. They're getting robbed by the system. They're getting robbed by the system, which is really designed. The fiat economic system is designed to basically squeeze you of all of your juice, all of your life energy, and make you more or less a slave to the system, to be in servitude. And so people have a big problem. And that's why I think it's important to learn about Bitcoin and eventually, when you're ready, take the orange pill. And when you take the orange pill, everybody's got a different journey, right? Everybody's got a different journey, which brings them to BTC. A lot of people go through the shitcoin phase of altcoins, and then they get burned and rugged on altcoins, and then they eventually make it to Bitcoin. For me, I was a silver bug and a gold bug in that order. I really liked silver for over 10 years and would physically stack metal, but it was the mining side of things that really put it together for me. And then I just kind of went all in on BTC via mining, owning this hardware, which produces BTC. And that's my preferred method of stacking. So everybody's got a different reason. I'm curious what brings you to the proof of workshop. I'm curious what brings the community together. Everybody has a unique story, and also we can learn from each other at different points in the journey. Even if you've been in the game for multiple years, but even if you've been around for a couple years, you can learn from somebody who's been in it for not a long time at all, somebody who's fresh and green to the mining space, because there's so much information and it's always a learning process. So that's why I'm super excited about the Bitcoin mining community at the proof of workshop, because number one, there are some very real Bitcoin miners in the community. And if you have a real interest in Bitcoin, then you should definitely be able to soak up some game from people that have been mining. Because in my experience, the miners are the real Bitcoiners. I mean, I say that with a grain of salt because, of course, not to take anything away from Bitcoiners that aren't mining, but mining is what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand Bitcoin. And so I think it's an exciting opportunity to learn about this asset class, which is arguably going to be the best asset, the best performing asset. If you zoom out, it may very well be the best performing asset of all time. We will see that play out, right? Because Bitcoin is a over $1 trillion asset, which is eating the financial system and starting to eat it, but it's still relatively very small in the grand scheme of things, which means that there's a lot of opportunity for growth in this space. If you're in this space, Bitcoin has only been around, it's only a teenager, it's only been around less than 20 years. Now compare that to something like gold that's literally been around thousands of years. So there's a lot to get into, and I'm not looking to rush the process. I'm going to make some cool announcements. One really cool announcement, which hopefully you'll stick around a little bit because I'm going to make a cool announcement for this community, this free community where you can get a free lifetime membership to be a part of the proof of workshop on SKOOL. I'm going to share with you guys some real value that you can get just from being a part of the community and engaging. I'm stoked on because I think to myself, when I was getting started in this business, what would I have wanted? I would have wanted to learn from other people's mistakes, from other people's experience. I would have wanted to learn from that as much as possible up front to speed up my learning curve. Because God knows I've made lots of mistakes in the Bitcoin mining business. And those mistakes have cost me quite a bit of fiat and by extension, quite a bit of Bitcoin, right? But welcome to the Proof of Workshop and welcome to the Hashy Hour, where I'll be doing these on Fridays and just kind of recapping what we're learning in the Proof of Workshop, because we're going to be rolling out modules. We're going to be rolling out modules in a step-by-step process to help people get started and understand what they're doing and understand what does it mean to mine Bitcoin and what are some strategies surrounding Bitcoin mining that you should know about if you're a beginner. Also, let me insert the boring stuff real quick just to get it out of the way. None of this is financial advice. You should not consider this individual advice for you. This is for entertainment purposes. It's not investment advice. Do your own research and speak with your own professional financial and tax advisors before making any decisions, because this is just for fun. And I hope you learned something, but it's general discussion and it's not tailored advice for you individually. In any case, let's make a gin and tonic. How about that? I think that's appropriate for Hashy Hour. So sitting on top of my S19 XP, which I hope is 141 T. Yeah, it's 141 terahash. I would have been displeased had it been 134 terahash. But yeah, let's go ahead and make a little G&T real quick. Oh, sure. Oh, sure. All right. I can hear my Avalon Nano warming up. I just plugged in the Nano again, and this thing's putting out like 3 terahash. Whereas the S19, if you plug this bad boy in, this is more of a commercial setup, more of like these are the ASICs that are really powering the Bitcoin network. Is these bad boys, these this type of form factor right here. So this is an air cooled S19XP. And I got a fun fact for you guys about that. But let's not rush the process here. Let's get this little G&T cooking here. All right. Let's do that. Yep. Got to use the coaster because we're civilized. All right. Lovely. So, yeah, we're looking to re-engage the community at the proof of workshop because I've had the proof of workshop going for, like, I was looking back and there's like people that were in here like 2 years. So like we've had this thing for over a year, probably 2 years. Just haven't fully engaged yet. But now we're engaged and we're rolling out modules, we're rolling out lessons, we're rolling out curriculum, and I'm going to do some cool stuff to energize the community because look, Bitcoin mining is all about the energy. If you're in the proof of workshop, you got to bring that energy because that's what it's about. It's about energy, it's about watts, it's about kilowatts, megawatts. Let's go. Let's go. So yeah, looking to reinvigorate the community. Salute. Ah, that's nice. This is going to be the best Bitcoin mining community around. And you're like the people that are going to make it so. It's not all about me. Again, I'm going to do my best to share what I would want to know when I got started mining and as I scaled my Bitcoin mining business. And hopefully supercharge your Bitcoin mining journey just by exposure to other Bitcoin miners that have maybe been through it and been there and done that. That's what I would have wanted when I got started. When I got started in 2021, very different market cycle, the very different time, right? This is pre ETFs, right? So, this is when the block subsidy was 6.25. Crazy times. Coming up on 5, so 4 years and some change, spending that much time in the space, it feels like longer than that because of the L's that have been taken, the lessons learned. But you got to stick with it if you're going to have success in anything, especially Bitcoin mining. You got to have commitment and you got to have strategy and you got to have the right data. So, and also like community, right? The people that you're learning with is going to make a huge difference as well. Because, you can read the books, right? I got books here about mining. Let's get some books out real quick. So here's just a couple that are just lying around. How about that difficulty adjustment? How about that difficulty adjustment that just came through? Just became more difficult to mine Bitcoin. Shocker. Up and to the right. Not that much mining happening in California. It's the crazy energy policies that don't really allow for it at scale besides the off-grid stuff, right? Because miners are always seeking out the lowest power cost because your main costs in mining are going to be power, right? What you can control is, your efficiency. In terms of your efficiency and what you can control. You can buy efficient hardware, right? And there's hardware that's more than twice as efficient as this machine right here. And the S19 XP is spending like 22 watts to produce a terahash. And so therefore at about 3050 watts, this thing is producing 141 terahash. So if you divide that out, right, and you take 3050 divided by 141, that gives you about 22. So here's an S19 XP, and what you can control in terms of efficiency is you can control, your hardware, right? How efficient is your hardware? Are you buying an S19 XP or are you buying an S21 XP? The S21 XP is considerably more efficient. And you can control that, but then also like your operational efficiency in terms of, are you operationally efficient and getting good uptime from your machines, or are your machines down having issues? So there's that, but then what's going to make a big difference is one of the biggest differences is your cost of power, because that is your main expense. It's your main operational expense is how much does it cost you to have power to your ASIC. These things are just cool as well. Like this is like 35 pounds of mostly chips. You've got hash boards in here, and there's 3 hash boards with over 100 ASIC chips on each hash board, and they're just stacked one after another. And then you have this, obviously stainless steel casing here. On the side is the power supply. So this is the power supply unit, and is an interchangeable part where, a power supply could go bad and then you just replace it. And then on the top is your control board. It's basically the little computer board which controls the chips. And then you've got the hash boards, the actual ASIC chips, which are doing the SHA-256 hashing algorithm, working to find the correct nonce and thereby hit a block, which is the fun part, is actually earning that BTC. And then you got fans. These things are super loud. They sound like a jet engine. And there you have it. I mean, that's basically the main components of an air-cooled ASIC like this S19 XP. I'm curious what brings people to the proof of work shop, and we're going to have a lot of fun learning about BTC. And one of the best ways to get exposure to BTC is through mining. So to put that in perspective, you can produce BTC at scale. It is possible to produce BTC for less than it's worth, right? So let's go into that a little bit more. I deleted Instagram, so now I'm figuring out how to use it again. Ha! Cool. Should we call this on Instagram Hashy Hour? Talking about Bitcoin mining. Cool. Let's roll. Technicalities, like, so before I go live on IG, I'm going to check that little difficulty adjustment that just happened, because that's cool. And we're only 52 blocks into the current epoch, so the difficulty adjustment happened yesterday. So that's interesting. Very interesting. And hash rate is still coming down a little bit, right? So hash rate was at 1 zettahash. 1 zettahash. And now on the 30-day average, hash rate was at 1 zettahash last time I checked, and I put out a little video. I think it was on Mining Monday on SKOOL. And last I checked, the 30-day was at 1 zettahash. Now it's down about 12 exahash, bringing it to 988 exahash. Wow. All right, live on IG. We got to get the IG people that just be scrolling. IG people just be scrolling. They just be looking at the most left curve parts of the brain, scrolling, looking at eye candy, just low attention span scrolling. So we need to talk about some actual interesting information on Instagram. I don't know if we can get any of the left curve Instagram crew over at the Proof of Workshop to actually learn something with us over here, but we'll try anyways. We'll try. You can see the little bidax over here as well on Instagram. So can you see it on Proof of Workshop live? So this is a bidax. This is a bidax that I got in Amsterdam. And these things are cool. These things are proper cool. All right. So interestingly enough, this little bidax, there's different models, right? But this one in particular has the same chip, the same ASIC chip as this big S21, or excuse me, I wish it was an S21 and I wish it was online in that case. But this bidax has the same chip, a single ASIC chip, as there are hundreds of the chips in this S19 XP, and it's the same chip. So in this shot right here, there are 4 Bitcoin miners. Let's play I Spy. So can you spy 4 Bitcoin miners? You've got the Nano 3. You've got the S19 XP. The Nano 3 is putting out 3 terahash on high mode, basically. And the S19 XP is putting out 141. And this little bidax is putting out like what is it, like 1.5 T or something. It's like just over 1 T, 1 terahash. Kind of cool. Now, can you spot the 4th one? Now, check this out. If I'm plugging this in at my house, this thing would produce like 30 cents worth of BTC daily. Okay, daily, this little bidax would be producing like 30 cents a day. Okay, top line as well. That's gross revenue. If you're actually like pointing it to a pool, that's before pool fees. So pools are, looking to take 2%, maybe 4%. And that's not factoring for your costs, right? So if it costs you 40 cents, then you're losing 10 cents a day on this little guy, right? So that's not exactly efficient mining at scale, obviously. This is more like a fun little tchotchke miner, the bidax. But check this thing out. This thing could still, very unlikely, very, very unlikely, almost impossible, but there's a non-zero chance that this thing could hit a block solo and currently earn you over $200,000 worth of BTC. If you got that lucky, then you could plug in a solo miner, a lottery miner, if you will. And you could, and some people have, right? So this isn't just theory. This is just simple math, right? And that's the cool thing about BTC is it's transparent and decentralized. The network is proof of work and proof of results. And anyone, anywhere in the world, if they have access to chips that will hash SHA-256 algorithm, and if they have a connection to the internet, they can point a machine to a mining stratum and mine BTC. So lottery mining is it's a really interesting thing, I think, because of the tail end chance that you can get a huge reward. And so may the odds be in your favor if you do any lottery mining. And there have been quite a few solo blocks that were hit just out of sheer luck, because that's a winner take all thing where you point your hash, whether it's a bunch of these or a little one of these. Hash is hash. Yeah. And there's a non-zero chance that you could mine a block and keep all the block rewards to yourself, but very unlikely, and you'll probably just lose money, right? So that's kind of the concept behind lottery mining. Is it literally is, like the lottery. The odds are totally against you, but there's a chance, right? To quote Dumb and Dumber, there is a chance. What else? Lottery mining. So check this out. If you're running this at 1T and you're running this at 141T, then this one has 141x the chance or the likelihood of hitting a block. And if you're pointing your machines to a pool, which is what the most mining is done through pools, if you're doing it that way, then, if you're pool mining, then you're earning more consistent rewards. So basically, almost all miners are using pools to smoothen out their earnings, because if you just try to mine on your own, it will probably take you forever and you'll never earn anything. So you have to kind of team up with other miners, and then the rewards are socialized, and then you get more consistent payouts and rewards. So there's the BitX, and these are kind of cool. There have been BitXs that have actually hit blocks. And again, they're competing against, I'm going to have to try and do some big numbers in my head, which can be difficult after a strong G&T. So individual miners are measured in terahashes, which is 1 trillion hashes, right? So these are real big numbers. 1 trillion hashes per second. This is doing 1 trillion hashes. SHA-256 hashes per second. This little tiny chip in this little tiny machine. Wow. Look at that bad boy. So that's a 121 of 121 BitX right here. And as you can see, there's a little fan on the side of it, right? Similar to the fan on the S19. And let's take the screen off. You can get this for like $100. So I took the little screen off, and now you can see the PCB. You can see the PCB on this thing. Beautiful printed board here. And under the fan is the actual ASIC chip. This is on the side here, that's the little power supply, or that's where you connect the power, and you're off to the races. This thing has a Wi-Fi capability, and yeah, it's cool. It's a cool little deal. So this thing, if this thing's bringing in 30 cents, yeah, if this thing's bringing in 30 cents per terahash, then what I'm referring to is the current hash price, right? The current hash price is how much BTC miners would expect based on their hash power, and multiplied by the current Bitcoin price. So, and that in a sense that scales linearly based on how much hash power you're running. So if this is bringing in 30 cents top line, if you're running it all day long, this 141T would be bringing in 141 times 30 cents, whatever that is, right? So, like $3 and change per day. Now, the question is, how much does it cost you to actually operate the equipment, right? Because if this thing's producing this bigger one, right, you can think of like more hash as like, in a sense, it's like more leverage because more hash means more costs based on more power consumption. Efficient machines are going to produce less, or rather consume less power and produce more hash, whereas inefficient machines are going to produce less hash and consume more power. And particularly right now, margins are very compressed. Hash price is close to the recently made all-time lows. So mining revenue is compressed, which is a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. Because if you think there's opportunity in the space, if you're bullish Bitcoin and you're long Bitcoin, then you can pick up some of the most efficient hardware for pennies on the dollar. This machine right here was trading for close to $15,000. And these days they're going for well under $1,000, like low hundreds, very low hundreds. And yet it was trading for 15K at one point. So some miners are more efficient than others, right? That's the key takeaway. And how much hash you're running is going to determine how much BTC you're earning, right? Man, I'm having fun. I'm having fun with this Hashy Hour. Looking forward to more people showing up and more people participating. Like, I think people can actually turn on their cameras and like their microphones and go live with me over at the Proof of Workshop on SKOOL. For all you Instagram people, check out the Proof of Workshop on SKOOL. That's SKOOL.com/POW, which is a free community for Bitcoin miners who are building real Bitcoin mining businesses. And if you're starting out with just an interest in Bitcoin and you just want to learn more about the Bitcoin network and what secures the network, then join the Proof of Workshop on SKOOL. And if you're already a miner, you've already got a few rigs online and you're already hashing and earning BTC and stacking Bitcoin every day, then great. Join the community of Bitcoin miners and let's chop it up. Because again, there's some heavy hitters in here. A lot of them are a little bit quiet right now, but we're awakening the beast over here. And it's going to be really interesting to see this community start to take shape as the curriculum rolls out, modules get dropped, and people add their experience to the equation. Because there's already some people that are far more experienced than me in the community. I'm looking forward to engaging with you guys more at any walk in your journey, at any point in your journey, as long as you're a Bitcoiner and as long as there's a willingness to learn. And I'm approaching this community with humility. I'm always looking to learn as well and learn from you guys. So I'm super interested in the feedback that you guys have for me and what you liked and what you didn't like and so on and so forth. So cheers. Let's roll. Let's mine some Bitcoin, guys. Let's mine some Bitcoin. I'm reading this book from my friend Christian over at Brains, which is the oldest Bitcoin mining pool. And they've got a lot of really good books. Like, this is one of my favorites for sure. And we're going to be visiting this a lot in the Proof of Workshop is mining economics, Bitcoin mining economics. We've got the glossary. So the glossary of terms, because when people talk about epochs and difficulty adjustments and this and that. Side note, if anybody, says that Bitcoin has no value, or if anybody is a perma bear no coiner on Bitcoin, ask them to explain to you the difficulty adjustment, because I've never met anybody that can explain the difficulty adjustment and that doesn't have a fundamental understanding of Bitcoin and the value proposition. So that's a really interesting thing is if you don't understand the difficulty adjustment for miners, then you probably don't understand Bitcoin. And you certainly don't understand Bitcoin if you can, if you don't understand the difficulty adjustment, because that's what enforces the limited supply, the 21 million cap. I just cracked this book today, the Bitcoin Mining Guide by Christian over the chief propagandist over at Brains. Shout out Christian. You can always learn more about BTC. And it's such a fun journey, such a fun rabbit hole. And, coming to it from a metals perspective, I literally just thought all crypto is just a bunch of bullshit, right? Because I didn't think it was real. When you hold a silver coin in your hand, it has weight and you feel that somebody had to dig this out of the earth, right? And that's what connected the dots for me, is realizing the amount of infrastructure behind the Bitcoin network. It's literally the most powerful computer network known to man. Far more compute and energy than Apple, Google, Amazon, AWS, far more compute than all of them put together. And there's such a huge amount of energy behind the Bitcoin network, which secures it. And you cannot fake the transactions once they've been confirmed into a block. Decentralization with pools aside, where, centralization is still a concern, but it's naturally a decentralized network. And there's a huge amount of compute work that goes into each block. I just checked the 30-day network hash rate, and it had dropped from 1,000 exahash to 988 exahash. We had a difficulty adjustment. What was it, yesterday? It happens every 2 weeks, this difficulty adjustment, making sure that blocks come in on average every 10 minutes. And so the amount of power and specialized compute behind the network is so massive, it's hard to really comprehend the infrastructure. And we're talking literally gigawatts and gigawatts of power that is running through these machines. And they're all competing to find blocks. And it is decentralized and competitive. It's literally the most competitive business known to man, to my knowledge. And us miners are competing over the scarcest resource known to man, which is BTC. So lock in. I'm glad you guys hopefully are interested in Bitcoin and learning more about it. And if you are, join us at the Proof of Workshop as we get this party started. That's skool.com/POW, Proof of Workshop on SKOOL, free lifetime membership. And let's get to the announcement about what we're going to do to help energize the community. So I need to figure out the fine print and the disclaimers, but this is not a promise of any rewards. This is, again, for entertainment purposes. And I need to figure out how exactly to do this, but here's what I want to do. What I want to do is and we were talking about lottery mining earlier, like with one of these guys. What I want to do is I want to take one of these, and this is, an S19, right? And what I want to do is I want to point an S19 to basically to the community. And I'm not sure where the lines are drawn. So I will be announcing the details at a future date once I figure out the logistics here. But what I want to do is I want to point one of these machines basically at the Proof of Workshop community. And if you're a leader on the leaderboard in the Proof of Workshop, then if we got super duper lucky Again, it's super unlikely. Chances are it's never going to happen. But if we did get super duper 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 lucky, and if the machine hits a block, then I would like to be able to share rewards with the community if that happens. So again, that's just a little hint, a little preview. But running one of these things is like $200 a month to run one of these things and have it hashing, because it's consuming over 3 kilowatts 24/7 basically. And that's a lot of kilowatt hours. So that's like $200 worth of power at like 8 cents a kilowatt hour, roughly. But I want to point one of these bad boys, lottery mine, and see if we can hit a block for the proof of workshop. And I'm going to announce further details as to how we're going to do that for the community. But just participating in this free community as a free lifetime member, then I want to have a cool thing going where we're trying to hit a block and we're trying to mine a block. And I'm thinking that should benefit like the top 3 members on the 30-day leaderboard. So if you're watching the modules, engaging in the community, and a part of the proof of workshop, then I want to throw some hash. And so stay tuned for more details on Sparky. We're gonna call the community Bitcoin Miner. We're gonna call it Sparky. Again, there's no guarantees that you're gonna win any rewards. It's very unlikely, but it should be fun. And I'll get more details to you guys about that in the coming days as we start to drop modules. I want Sparky to be hashing for the proof of workshop. So, that's a lot of hash in terms of solo lottery mining. That's a lot of hash to be throwing like, 141 terahash towards a lottery mining. And right now the block reward is worth over $200,000. So if somebody gets super lucky and hits a block doing solo mining or lottery mining, that's worth over 200K in BTC today. And that's with BTC under 70K, right? So BTC is trading for 68 or something like that. And that's what it's worth today. You're doing it at like today's economics and today's rates. But if you're long-term bullish Bitcoin, then you know that all that's going to change. And that's a guarantee that basically whatever the math is today is going to change for sure. It's multi-variable, highly volatile math. So exciting stuff. I'm stoked to be hashing with you guys, and thanks for joining me on the first Hashy Hour. I'll just finish my little gin and tonic, and we'll call it a day. I want to know in the comments, you just got delivery of my little S19 XP right here. Yeah, just stoked on you guys joining me for Hashy Hour this Friday. I'm excited about the proof of workshop, and let's roll. Let's mine some Bitcoin. Thanks, guys. See you next time.